Hi, my name is Melissa Gay,
And I'm Deborah Maggart.
and we welcome you to the Sumner Samplers video. First and probably last, we are here to introduce to you Alethia Saunders, 1831, a beautiful adaptation sampler that was reproduced by Nicola Parkman of Hands Across the Sea Samplers from England, of course. We love her, our famous Cornwall gal. We have been involved in this sampler process for about a year and a half since COVID knocked us out back in March of 2020. Nicola was here at Rock Castle, historic Rock Castle here in Sumner County, to look at Alethia, and she fell in love with her just like we did. Deborah and I just kind of chanced upon her. She's been here for a long, long time, but we didn't realize what we had here, this treasure here in Sumner County. So Alethia was only 11 years old when she stitched this beautiful sampler, and I'm going to let Deborah tell you a little bit about her.
Well, Alethia Saunders was one of 17 children who grew up here near Rock Castle. This is her grandfather's home, General Daniel Smith. He was a Revolutionary War general, and he was also one of the first senators we had here in Tennessee. He was also hired by Governor Thomas Jefferson, who of course we all know became president, to do the land surveying, to survey the great state of Tennessee. And so he is the person who we credit with naming Tennessee, Tennessee, which is a Cherokee Indian word that means between two rivers. So Alethia grew up here. We know that her sister, Letitia, was the first girl in Tennessee in 1805 to go to the Salem Female Academy. And we also know that she purchased some linen and some silk threads to do her sampler. Her sampler did not survive, but we like to think that Alethia, little Alethia, 26 years later, may have used her older sister Letitia's sampler as a chart. We're not sure.
Sort of guide.
Maybe a guide, but we like thinking that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Alethia grew up around some of the founders of our country. Of course, the great state of Tennessee, as I mentioned earlier. Her grandfather also wrote the state constitution here in our state. We were part of the colony of North Carolina at the time, but a lot of famous people visited Rock Castle. So Alethia was right on the edge of the frontier when she was a little girl, and she was around her kinsman Andrew Jackson, who of course later became president. Her older brothers were actually raised by Andrew Jackson right here across the river where we are. And so there's just a lot of history here at Rock Castle. And the great thing about this sampler that our good friend Nicola, our sweet friend, helped us do the adaptation, all of the proceeds from this chart go to benefit historic Rock Castle. Rock Castle is the oldest home in this region. It's also the first home that was built in the federal style, and it's made of limestone. So if you ever get a chance to come to Middle Tennessee, give us a call. We'll be happy to bring you here to Rock Castle so you can see this beautiful home. But we're just delighted that this sampler, the benefit of this sampler, is going to help continue to keep all the great things that go on here at Rock Castle.
Every penny. Nicola donated her time. Deborah and I, our time is not worth quite as much, but we donated our time. Rock Castle has been wonderful. The executive director here and his wife have been just stupendous helping us get this adaptation going, and like I said, every penny goes to historic Rock Castle. We are blessed here in Sumner County to have lots of history, not only for our nation but also for our state. So we're glad to introduce this beautiful sampler to you. She used 5 colors. She only used 5 colors, and I used the Avera Soie 103 in the adaptation. I stitched it on 46 count weeks dye work mocha. And involved in the process, we did an Ada conversion so that you don't have to worry about the queen stitches because there are cross stitch over 1, cross stitch over 2, there are some stem stitches, a long stitch, and of course the beautiful queen stitch, which I do love. There are some 3/4 stitches also in the Ada conversion. We included a Avera Soie d'Alger, and we have the 103 in there along with the DMC conversion. The fabric requirements are in there, the stitch guides are in there. We hope all the instructions are clear and in there. Alethia was, I'll say that she stuck to it. That's the best way to describe it. She is not the most efficient stitcher. She certainly got a little carried away on some of it, but she was 11. And we think about it, back in the early 1800s, there was no electricity. So either she was stitching by the windows, outside, or by candlelight. So the fact that it is complete, I mean, it is complete. The fact that it's complete is amazing. I can't imagine doing that as an 11-year-old. It took me a while to do it as a something-year-old this year. So it's amazing. It's a great sample.
One of the interesting things about this sampler, Melissa mentioned the 3 or the 5 colors I think that she used. We know that little girls from Sumner County, where this home is located, where Alethia grew up, we know that the little girls here in Sumner County, they all use the same colors for some reason for many, many years. And we know this because we have some of their samplers in our state museum and archives. And so we were able to show those to Nicola when she was here, when she was helping us with this project when she first saw it back in March of 2020. So we don't know why they did that. It might have just been a thing, but we do know that a lot of little girls went to the Salem Female Academy, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of the families in Tennessee, the wealthy families, sent their daughters there. So one day we'll maybe figure out why they all did that, how they all did that, but they all knew to do it. Sarah Polk, who was James K. Polk's wife, she was First Lady of our country. She was originally born here in Sumner County, but she was raised in Rutherford County. She also went to that academy, and her sampler is actually at the Polk House down in Columbia. But it's a beautiful little sampler. It has a really unique border that has been highlighted in some historic research papers about North Carolina and where these sampler ideas and motifs and that sort of thing came from. And you can see those links on the Historic Rock Castle website. You can go to the Historic Rock Castle website and download this sampler, and you can learn a little bit more about her and see some other samplers that are from Tennessee, other samplers little girls at that time did here. If you will go there, and you can purchase this sampler for $20. And again, like we said, the proceeds all go to Historic Rock Castle.
When Nicola was working on this, she saw it immediately. There's been some water and light damage to it, but she could look at it and tell. She didn't get to take it apart, which is why it's called an adaptation. She took lots and lots of pictures, but she could look at it and tell that these colors were probably pink, probably an off-white, and the green, just by looking at it. If you'll notice in the large sampler, the original sampler, it just looks like a lot of browns and blacks, but it's not. They're beautiful colors. I think some of the green shows up. You'll also notice that in this border, Alethia stitched a beautiful row of, the whole border is floral motifs. It's got these beautiful roses, I think, or we're not really sure what they are. But she also stitched the beautiful leaves. But by the time she got to the top of the border, she decided she was done with the queen stitches of the leaves. So if you'll notice, there are only a few of the leaves on there. But also what she did is, like they did in a lot of the samplers, it looks like she did some backwards S's. Well, that backwards S is specifically something. If it is a forward S, it has the S sound, the S sound. And if it is a backwards S, it has a Z sound. And so also Deborah wants to tell you about the name itself.
So for many, many years here in Hendersonville, Tennessee, we've had a controversy, a big debate for years going on about how to pronounce the name Saunders. Is it Saunders or is it Sanders? Now, since we've done all this research, we know that it is Saunders. We also know that Alethia probably would not misspell her name on her sampler, but we have a road here called Saunders Ferry, which is named after her father's ferry that he actually had here. James Saunders, her dad, had a ferry, and it's called Saunders Ferry. But for some reason, years ago, the phone company changed the name in the phone book. Misspelled it. And so that led to just years and years of mistakes. Like when they replaced some of the tombstones here in the graveyard, they spelled it Sanders when really their name is Saunders. So we know that for sure because I believe a little girl, 11 years old, who's going to go to the trouble to stitch her name, she's going to stitch it the way it is spelled.
Why don't you show them the model that we stitched?
All right.
Tell them a little bit about it if you want to.
Okay, let's see if we can see it. All right, okay. Well, you can see here the beautiful colors that Melissa mentioned. This is what we think it really looked like when Alethia stitched it in 1831. It's just beautiful. So we hope that you will enjoy it. We hope that you'll purchase this to help Rock Castle. It's just lovely. Of course, Melissa's a wonderful stitcher, and she did a fabulous job on the model.
We also don't know where the saying came from, that we've never found it in another, or we haven't been able to find it in another sampler anywhere, and so we think maybe it was just some wisdom that her mother wanted to impart. She must have needed some appointed light. So Alethia, we look forward to one of these days talking to her in heaven. Thank you all for coming by. Go by the Rockcastle website, historicrockcastle.com, and please purchase this wonderful sampler. Stitch it if you want to, but if nothing else, you'll be making a wonderful donation to a wonderful home that has been preserved all these years. Thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming to see us. Bye-bye.